Hey, I'm really excited about this unit that we're going to do. We're going to do some op art drawings. Op art developed in the 60s, just like pop art, which we studied last time, the last unit we did. Op art, in op art, op stands for optical illusion, so that's what it's all about. So we're going to start by drawing our hand in an op art kind of way. So you will need a piece of paper, your colored pencils, a straight edge or a ruler. It's clear so it's hard to see, and a marker and a pencil. So let's start by tracing our hand. So we're going to put our hand there, and I want to make sure that I also have my arm. And I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to hold it straight up and down, and I'm just going to trace my hand like this. I don't want to push too hard necessarily because I don't want to see the pencil. We're going to cover it up with Sharpie in a second. So I'm tracing my non-dominant hand. That's the one you don't write with. And there it is, and my arm. Okay, so once that's there, it's a little hard to see on the video, but it'll be okay because we're going to go back through and I'll trace it with a marker. Now we're going to take our straight edge, our ruler, and I'm going to put it right here at the bottom of the paper. Let me get rid of the paper that's underneath this for a second. Okay, I'm going to put my ruler at the bottom of the paper so that I can make sure that it's straight. So I'm going to make sure that the bottom of my ruler is lined up with the paper so that I get a straight line. And then I'm going to draw a line. But wait, don't do it yet, because you're not going to draw a line through your hand. So I'm going to use the straight edge to draw right to my arm. Then I'm going to skip that arm. Then I'm going to come over here and draw that line. Now I'm going to put my straight edge, the bottom of my straight edge, on that line so that it's parallel. That means the lines go the same direction and will never run into each other. And I'm going to do the same thing. And now I'm going to do that all the way up. I'm not going to draw the lines in the hands. I'm just drawing up. Now you may have already done this drawing before, so if you have, that's okay. It's good practice. Be careful though, because you want it to be it's really important in op art that that you are precise, that you're very careful. So it's based on geometry and math. So it's like my weakest kind of drawing because you have to go super slow and be very careful so that the lines are all parallel when they're supposed to be parallel and stuff like that. Remember to push pause when you need to push pause. So I'm at the fingers now. I'm skipping the fingers, and I'm just drawing around them, going all the way up. Whoa, I drew into the finger. I'll have to erase that in a second. Making sure they're parallel, that's really important. Okay, so now I've got that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back down here to this line and I'm going to connect it, but I want to curve it because I want to create dimension. So I want my hand to look three-dimensional instead of two-dimensional, like if you were just drawing it the way it looks right now. And in order to do that, I need to have some curves. So I'm going to, because you know your arm is curved, right? So I'm going to start here where the line hits my arm, and I'm going to draw a parenthesis shape like that, okay? And now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do the same parenthesis shape. And I'm going slow because I want it to be good. If I have to erase, I'll erase and fix it, okay? Because I need that curve to happen. Then up here, same thing. Because this is what's going to give it dimension and shape. Now I've got this big one to do here, same thing. Remember to push pause when you need to push pause. I'm going to draw this big curved line. Don't go too dark, or don't press too much, too heavily on your pencil so that you can erase if you need to erase. Because you do want this to be good. So now this gets a little tricky because I'm going to do this curve, but I'm going to have to stop that curve when I get to where my thumb is. Then I'm going to have to pretend that it comes on over here. Right? So that one is a little tricky, so be careful there. Now, I get to the fingers. This is important to pay attention to. Each finger like gets its own curve. So like right here, I'm going to do this curve right here. And I'll go ahead and do this curve up here. All right? Then here, same thing. Then here. And I'm doing this in pencil because I want to be able to come back and erase it if I need to, if I mess up. I'm doing pretty well getting these on the first try, but you might not, and there's nothing wrong with that. So just make sure that you're giving yourself some leeway. All right? So once you've done that with the pencil, it's time to go back through and trace with the marker, all right? So I'm going to do that. Now here's the thing. You can use your straight edge if you want to use your straight edge. I'm not going to do that. First, I'm going to do all of the lines that are not part of the hand. Actually, let's do this. Let's do the hand first. So I'm going to actually, because I think it's easier for me to do this, I'm going to turn it upside down, and now I'm just going to trace. Notice how slow I'm going, because I want this, in order for op art to work, you have to be very precise. Otherwise, you run into trouble. So I'm tracing my hand. Push pause if you need to push pause, but go slow. I'll probably fast forward right now. You will go slow. Okay, now because it's easier for me to draw lines coming to me, like towards me, so I'm going to draw all the lines. I'm not going to do the curved lines in the hand yet. I'm going to do those last. So I'm just going to come up here and I'm just going to trace that all the way down. Be careful when you get to the fingers that you don't, it would be very easy to like go fast and draw into the fingers, so don't do that. You don't want any extra marks. So what I do is I sort of I lighten up as I get closer to the line. I'm lightening up. So I'm lightening up my grip. I'm being very careful not to draw into the hand. Take your time with this. Op art, when you look at it, number one, it looks really cool once you're done, but it can also look really simple. But it is one of the harder things to do if you're going to make it look good, which we are. So the way you do that is you just keep everything super slow and super precise. when we start coloring, you'll be able to go a little faster. Not a ton. Okay, great. Now I'm going to go back and do the curved lines in my hand, and I'll just start at the top and come down. And I'm just going to trace them because since I did it in pencil, I know I'm happy with them. Because if I wasn't happy with them, I would have erased them and done it again. Be careful, be slow doing this curve. So we'll do some op art that looks super complicated. This one doesn't look super complicated, but it does look cool when you're done. Like already it looks pretty cool, right? So now we're going to add some color. And what I want you to do is use all of your colored pencils except black and white. So I'm going to take black and white and I'm just going to set it here. I'm going to use those, but I'm not going to use those until I've got all the other color in. So what I want you to do is use all of your colors, and here's what you're going to do. I don't care what order you go in, but I'm going to start at the bottom. Well, or we can start at the top. It doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to color like a line, but I'm not, it's just a line. It's not like a bigger shape than that. So this takes a while. I don't care what order. I'm going to go red, then I'm going to go blue. Take your time. Let's go green. And I want the, they may blend into each other a little bit, and that's okay. I kind of want that. In other words, I don't want a white line between each of the colors. Let's do yellow. Yellow's hard to see sometimes. Then I'll go a darker green because I'm using all of the colors that are in my box. Okay. I'll go purple because I'm just randomly kind of picking them. And I'm going to go all the way through. Like that. Now some of you who aren't the most patient people on the planet will find this a little bit of a challenge because it does take forever. But that's okay, we want it to. It'll be worth it in the end. So once you get to the fingers, this is important. You're going to curve like that. So you're going to follow this curve. So really, let's do this. Let's go to this curve. I'm going to take this dark blue and I'm going to do this one so you can see how this works. So I'm following that curve up and I'm following the curve. So you see how this works. Now what I'm not going to do though, well, I'll show you when I get there. So don't go away. Keep listening. I don't care if you even you don't even have to go in the same order as you go down. So now I'm going to come back. I'll just come right here. I'm following this curve. So like that. And I'm not even looking when I grab the color. I don't want to use the same color next to the same color. Like I don't want to use light green next to light green. It'll look like a bigger stripe. But I'm just randomly picking colors. Now here, what gets a little weird is I don't want to do this curve on the outside. I just want to do the curve on the inside. So I'm going to skip the finger now. Well, not here, I won't, because I've run out of room on this finger, right? So this finger will curve with yellow. This finger will curve with yellow. And I'll keep going. I'm skipping that finger because there's no room to draw in the finger. This one, though, still curves. I'm going to make some of these thicker than others just to save a little time. Just for the video, you'll want to take your time with it, though. Okay, I'm going to pause right here to show you the next thing. So, because I know some of you will do this and then not watch the next step. So here's the next step. I'm going to take the black and the red, or white, the black and the white, once I get it all colored. And I'm going to come back up here in each finger, and I'm just going to use the white to kind of lighten that. Okay, and then I'm going to use the black to sort of do shading. So I'm just going to very lightly do that. So I'm going to decide, you got to decide which direction is the light coming from. If the light is coming this way, then the shadow is on this side of the line, right? So you're going to come in and with your black just very lightly color some shadows. Right? And that'll give it a little bit more depth. Then you can even do a little bit of shading on the sides of the fingers. The white thing doesn't, the white will help. It just takes a lot of time. So do it. Okay, so I'm doing a little bit of shading there. It's kind of hard to see on the, I'll push a little harder. It's harder to see on the camera than it is in real life. Same with the white. So because they're curved, they're darker on the sides. So by adding black to the colors, I'm creating a darker hue, right? Okay, so that gives it a lot more depth. Then I'm going to come back in here with the white and just do like a line down. Okay, so you're going to do that once you get it all colored. Do the coloring first. Okay?
So you may notice that I'm making my lines a little bit thicker, and that's because I'm running out of time to make this video. You can alter the thickness of the lines, and that's fine with me, but I don't want you to make a bunch of super thick lines, because it won't look as cool. So, for example, that yellow and that orange are both thicker than a lot of the others. This pink row is a lot thicker. I'm going to go thinner with dark green right now. And as long as the thickness of the line stays consistent, you're okay. So this whole green line needs to be the same thickness. And now I'm going to take purple, and I'm going to do a bigger stripe. But don't get too big, because then the effect isn't as obvious or cool. Keep those curves curving.
So now I've noticed that I have sort of a dilemma, because this is going to need a different color there. And that's okay, I'll just do that. So when you get here, where the hand, where you're off the fingers, so you got to go a little bit. You're going to go smaller here and thicker here, right? Oh, I didn't do that with my. Let's go orange. So I'm going to color all of that yellow, because you have to make adjustments because your hand isn't like symmetrical, right? So you're going to have some thicker yellow that blends smaller, and then I'm going to make that bigger there, okay? Now, pink.
Really, I guess that should be pink too. Okay, so now I have this dilemma where I have to deal with that, so that's going to be its own color. I'll do light blue. Okay, now I'm moving on. I'm going to take this brown. I don't use the brown very much. This is another situation where like I've ended up, because the hand's not symmetrical, where I've got to fill that color in. I'll do orange. It can be whatever color you want though. going to talk for a second on the video, so I'm not telling you that for any reason, just so you know I'm not talking to you.
Okay, so once you've got the color laid in like this, it's time to go back with your black and to start to shade it. So remember, we decided that the light is coming from this direction. You could bring it the other direction, just remember that it would be opposite of what I'm doing here, okay? So because the fingers and the hands are rounded, we're going to go ahead and shade on each side of them. So the closer you get to the line, the heavier you push, because the darker it is, and then you fade up, right? So I'm going to do that on all of the fingers. So I'm just doing inside the hand right now, right? I'll come back and do the outside of the hand in a second. Remember to push pause if you need to push pause. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to come down and do the hand, because the hand is also rounded. So closer to the line is heavier, it's a heavier shadow. And then you lighten up as you go, but just stick with the shape, right? So I'm going pretty heavy on the arm, on the left side of the arm. Same thing over here. Now because the light's coming from this direction, there's still a shadow on this side of the hand, but it doesn't go up as high. Okay, this shadow is a little bit goes higher on the hand. Okay, so I'm pretty happy now with what I've got going on the hand itself. So I'm going to come back and now I'm going to do the shadow on the left side of the hand, on the opposite side, like on the, not on the hand itself, but on the side of the hand. And I'm going to go pretty dark next to the line, and then I'm going to fade out. So you go dark next to the line, then as you color, get lighter and lighter. I'm going to do a curve here that gets lighter. Same thing on this side of the finger, so take your time with this. But this is what's going to make it really stand out and look three-dimensional. So do each of those things just like I did them. Slow the video down and watch again, or push pause if you need to. So now I'm going to come in with my white pencil, and it's hard to see a little bit, but right on the edge of this shadow I'm going to color a white line. And then just here I'm laying in some white. This kind of will blend the colors a little bit. And then down the center of the arm I'm going to lay in some white. It's really hard to see, so don't worry too much about it. Okay, and there you go. Your op art 3D hand.